This is our DPT front rack mobility flow. What you're going to need is a PVC pipe, a peanut, and a small-ish kettlebell that you feel comfortable holding in a inverted waiter position. So for that front rack position, this is a very challenging position for a lot of people. There can be some wrist involvement for it. We do have a wrist video, so go ahead and click back into the menu and you'll find it. But let's take a look at the shoulder primarily. But when I'm in that front rack position, I need to be able to get those elbows up nice and high, but I also need that T-spine to extend. So we're going to take a look at the mobility impairments and needs of that upper arm, that upper back. Some exercises to go through it. How do we specifically get you into that front rack position and stretch all the right things? Then how do we train you in that position to kick on the right muscles to better support that position? Our basic test, if we go ahead and put this bar into a rack, is I'm going to go ahead and stand here, and I'm going to set this up so it's about shoulder level. Stand here with my elbows forward, nice and tall. My upper arm should be at about horizontal, so to the floor. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn my hands out and see how far they go. Now, a lot of people might have something that looks like this. Some people can't even get past neutral. If you're able to get over like 20, 30 degrees, then you're doing pretty darn good. But again, this gives us a sense of where we should be. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with this peanut. So we're going to come down on the ground, and what we're going to work on first is actually the back side of that tricep so I can get into that nice front rack position. Peanut's nice because it'll roll back and forth as opposed to get all squirrely and go all over the place. You could do it with a foam roll, but like a single mobility ball isn't really what we're looking for. So what we'd look for first is trying to get in this position with that elbow bent, even turning that palm up just like that front rack position. And can I roll through that tricep and find some spots through there? You can even, if there's a little spot you want to tack and stretch on, that's fine. But let's go 30 seconds here. And this is all going to be done in real time. So just follow along. We'll see how we do. Nice. And we'll go to the other side. Slide over, that same position. Again, turn that palm up towards the sky. I'm going to roll through that tricep and get closer up into that armpit area if I need to. If you can't quite get in there just because you can't get that ball up far enough, you can do this on a box or an elevated surface, totally fine. I just want that elbow moving away from your torso. So again, we'll go 30 seconds on this side. A couple more. Okay, next we're going to work the back side of that shoulder. So this thing's kind of cool. You can just take it apart, and I can just use a single lacrosse ball, or if you only had a peanut, you could do that too, and just put it on the back side of that shoulder. So let's pretend that we're going to use the single. I'm going to put that thing down. I'm going to put it right behind my armpit. I'm going to bring that arm out into that 90-degree position, roll over onto it a little bit, and I'm just going to work the back side of that rotator cuff and deltoid and go right through here like this. Let's go 30 seconds. It's probably like 10 arm sweeps. Sometimes if those tissues are too tight, I can't get that arm up into that front rack position, and those elbows won't be able to get inside my wrists, which is not what I want. 9 and 10. Okay, let's try the other side. Same thing, right behind the armpit, find a little spot that's a little tender. Let's go 10 arm sweeps here. 4, if you need to readjust, you can. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so now I got the tricep, I got the back side of the shoulder. We're gonna go back to that peanut, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this right between my shoulder blades. And all I gotta do is place it there so I got one ball on either side of my spine. If I just go ahead and kind of hold my head and just, I'm not yanking on anything, but just supporting it, stay in this little bit of a curl position. If I use my abs, I come up off that ball, and if I just relax, the weight of my torso mobilizes my spine by pushing the weight of my torso into that ball. From there, I can arch back a little bit, I can rotate a little bit, I can just spend maybe 10, 15 seconds at each of these segments. I can roll down a little bit and kind of do the same thing. Just crunch, relax, extend a little bit. You might get a couple of pops as long as it's not too painful. The further down you go, the more uncomfortable it's going to get because more of you is over it. So just be careful. There are different types of peanuts. They could be softer, could be made out of tennis balls. There's, lacrosse balls are pretty firm. So just make sure it's tolerable enough to you. If you're holding your breath, you're probably not going to be getting a whole lot done because you're just going to be holding and guarding the whole time. But you can see, even with my hands behind my head, if I pull those elbows forward and kind of like arch over that ball or that peanut a little bit, it's getting me close to that position, right? It's not an accident. Okay, that's enough for that. Next, we are going to use our PVC pipe. Now we're going to try to get both arms up into that flexion and external rotated position. So I'll do it here on this box, but what I want to see is those elbows slightly inside of my wrists. And then what I'm going to do is push here and here. But by virtue of locking it on this box, I get my elbows inside my hands, and then I'm just going to walk my knees back, and I'm going to try to drop my head through my forearms. And this is going to give me a big lat stretch and a really big upper back extension stretch. Should also be getting a shoulder stretch here. And then what I can do is I can take one hand and kind of push the stick. So now my left hand is coming towards you, and I'm going to push the stick the other way, and now my right hand is going away from you. And I'm just going to go back and forth 10 times. And I should just feel this in different parts of my shoulder. Nothing should be painful, just like a nice stretch. But the entire time I'm in this big thoracic extension position, bilateral shoulder flexion, bilateral shoulder external rotation, which again is going to lead into that front rack position. So we'll go 10 of these going side to side. Two more, 9, and 10. Very good. If for some reason you're very stiff and you have a hard time keeping those elbows inside of your hands, you can take one of those mini bands, or even just take something relatively small, maybe even like a belt or something like that, where you can kind of use it to hold those elbows in, and then see if you can sneak your wrists outside so that you can get into more of that externally rotated position. Next, we're going to do our PVC front rack stretch with a front squat. So you'll hold it like a sword, let it fall to the outside, take this bottom hand and kind of hook it underneath your elbow. And then from here, I'm going to make sure that elbow stays up and into external rotation. For most people, this feels pretty darn good, but what we're going to do is we're now going to add it where we need it the most, which is in the bottom of that squat. So in our squat stance, we're going to use the stick to hold that elbow up, drop into our squat, and come back up. From the side, as I do this, same thing, elbow up, and I'm using it to lock it there. I'm even going to hold it on that box for just a second. But what we're looking for is a big stretch in this lat. And so as I anchor that lat and then move my butt back and away, I'm going to get a huge lat stretch. And again, if I do it up here, I need it down here, right? So we're going to do 5 of these on each side. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. So other side, hold it like a sword, let it fall, hook it underneath that elbow, elbow up nice and high. Let's go 5 here. And I should get that nice big lat stretch all the way down the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now we have all the mobility, hopefully. Now we want to make sure that my upper back can keep me supported, and I need the serratus anterior to push that elbow forward. If it doesn't, I'm still going to get that elbow drop in the bottom of my front squat, even at light weight. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold this kettlebell like a waiter, an inverted hold, but like a waiter position. But I'm going to take you up into this 90-degree waiter position, and we're going to front squat from here. And the goal is to keep this upper arm horizontal as I squat, and then back up. And you're going to think it's here, but it's really here that's doing all the work. Let's go 5 of these. And 5. Let's go 5 on the other side. Same thing, holding it 90 degrees. Four. And 5. Okay. So after I go through that, let's go ahead and retest. Bar about shoulder height, facing, both hands on it. Can we pull both hands out and away and see where they go to? That should be improved. Then you can try actually front racking, see if you can get those elbows nice and high, those hands slightly outside, see how you do.